Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran, CEO and founder of Irresistible University. I teach women through my signature group coaching program how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. Before we dive into today's topic, I just want to remind you that I am hosting a free masterclass on St. Patrick's Day, March the 17th at 8 p.m. If you haven't already RSVP'd, make sure you do that. The link is inside of the show notes. All you have to do is enter in your name and email address, and you will be on the guest list. In this class, I'm going to be teaching you how to break free of the yo-yo diet body hate shame cycle and truly look and feel irresistible in your own skin at any size or weight. I've also got some free goodies that I'm going to be giving out during the class, so you don't want to miss out. Make sure you RSVP. Again, the link is in the show notes. Okay, let's just go ahead and get started. Let's get started with today's episode. I want to talk to you today about taking action and accountability. Okay. I got to say this. I started this podcast on a whim. I had been blogging and talking about these same topics for years. I actually started my blog back in 2010. So I'm like an OG. I've been doing this for a while. And 2 years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just start a podcast. I've been thinking about it and I don't want to keep overthinking it. So let's just do it. And I literally did it that day. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know what this was going to turn into. I didn't know if, anyone would even find it or listen to it. There is still so much I don't know about podcasting, but once I started doing that and taking action, imperfect action, let's make that very clear, all of a sudden, within a couple months, I started noticing people finding me that had never heard of me, had never seen my website, had never been in my world, but were finding me through the podcast. And the reviews and the feedback that I started to receive was tremendous. And I was like, OMG. After all these years of writing, this is my sweet spot. This is the thing. This is how people need to hear from me. This is the platform that's really going to be like the center of my brand. And I didn't know that was going to happen. It was like, let me just see where this goes. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time up front worrying about it and overthinking it and planning, because if I do that and I invest a lot of time and a lot of energy into it and then it doesn't go anywhere, then, let's just see where this goes. And let's be curious about it and let's just do it. And it's been amazing. And I'm telling you, I get so excited and warm and fuzzy inside every time you guys tell me how much you love listening to Irresistible You. I get emails and private messages, and some of you leave reviews. And when I see reviews, especially when you say things, here's the phrase that just I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just, it doesn't matter how many times I read it, these reviews always bring tears to my eyes. It's just amazing. So every time I see things like, how do you know what's inside my head? Oh my gosh, I can't believe you say the things that I'm thinking. And how are you doing that? Your podcast is really helping me feel motivated and inspired. And I just love to read that. Well, I can speak what's inside your head because I've been in your shoes. That's how I know. That's how I'm so good at that. Because I'm not bullshitting you. This is my truth also. And, not to toot my own horn, but toot toot, my podcast is pretty legit, right? I know what I'm talking about. And every week I get on here and I dish you up this heaping serving of realness sprinkled with empowerment and motivation, right? And I love doing this. This is my happy place. I never thought this was going to be something that, I just never knew I would love it in the way that I do. And like, this is my happy place too. So thank you for listening. Thank you for always being here. But I also want to tell you something. I want to share this with you. And I get real with y'all every week. This is a mistake that you're making. Okay? Here's the mistake that you're making. Feeling inspired, feeling motivated is fantastic. We all need that dose of motivation and inspiration in our life. We just do, right? But that isn't long lasting, right? You know how you sit around and you're like, oh, I just need to find my motivation. I just need to get motivated. And let's say you do, but then that fades, right? It might only last for a few minutes, a few hours, maybe a day, maybe a couple days, right? Motivation is not intended to be maintained. It's just not. So the mistake that you're making here is that you listen to the podcast, you feel motivated, you feel inspired, you feel validated. I think that's even more important, is that feeling of, oh my God, someone understands me. And feeling validated is like one of the best feelings in the world. You're like, I'm not the only one that sits in the bathtub and eats cupcakes, right? But the mistake here is when you're not actually applying the information because you're not holding yourself accountable to it, or you don't have a framework in which to hold yourself accountable, right? And so then that creates inaction. And when you aren't taking action, you end up feeling overwhelmed, you end up feeling anxious, you end up beating yourself up with all the inner fat bitch talk because you feel like a failure. You feel like, oh my gosh, well, I listened to this podcast and it was so inspiring, but I'm still doing that thing that she was talking about, so I'm such a failure. And you feel like you're never going to get off the yo-yo diet body hate shame cycle, that hamster wheel that just keeps spinning and spinning and spinning. Well, here's the deal, guys. Motivational, inspiring content is just content if you don't do something with it. It means nothing, and I don't say this lightly because I believe my podcast is amazing and has helped so many people, and I know that it has. But if you're listening to things and you're not taking action and you're not holding yourself accountable, then what was that inspiration doing for you? Because it's sure as hell not going to help you reach your goals unless you're holding yourself accountable. Right? And women that struggle with emotional weight and emotional eating and are stuck on the yo-yo diet body hate shame cycle have a really big problem with accountability. Because if you didn't have a problem with accountability, you wouldn't have those problems. And we always think that we can just do it ourselves. We can just do it. We don't need anybody's help. We don't need anyone to hold us accountable. I'll just buckle down, put my head down, and work really hard and hustle, hustle, hustle. I'm going to hustle my way through it. And I don't need anybody's help. I can figure it out on my own. I'm not weak. I'm so strong. Blah, blah, blah. Right? And so if you don't have accountability and support, you're not going to reach your goals. And you need accountability and support from someone other than yourself. Because again, if you could do it yourself, you would have done it already. And you might be able to do it on days where you feel motivated, you feel inspired, but guess what? Motivation is like it's like it ebbs and flows, right? Sometimes it comes and goes. It comes and goes. We are not designed to stay in a state of feeling motivated all the time. That is not what you need, but you end up blaming motivation on the reason why. Well, I fell off the wagon again. I was doing so good, but then I just lost my mojo. You need accountability and support from a coach that can nudge you along, call you out on your bullshit, and also cheer for you and throw confetti when you have wins, when you have things to celebrate, when you overcome things. You need that in your life. I promise you, you cannot do it on your own, or it's going to be so hard and difficult to do it that way. This piece of, so for those of you that don't know, I teach a program called Irresistible You, of course. Irresistible You is my signature group coaching program that I teach. It's all taught online, and we have a live component along with an online component combined together. And one of the most valuable components in the program, it's not the videos, it's not the worksheets, it's not the workbooks, like all that stuff. Yes, it's good stuff. You need it. It's there, and we couldn't have the program without it. But the most valuable piece of the entire program is the accountability and support that you get from me and the other women in the group. And what I mean by that is we have a private student-only Facebook group. And that is where we do all of our communicating. We have coaching calls where you can come talk to me. You get on live and we can coach through things together. I always am active in the group, replying to questions and providing support. And we have daily posts in the group for accountability, for goal setting, for intention setting, and for celebrations, right? That is such a valuable piece of the puzzle, because for so long you're just trying to sit there and figure all this out on your own without a framework to put it in and without an accountability system. And what I'm about to say might be hard for you to hear, but that's okay, because let me say this. My job is to hold you to a higher standard than you are currently holding for yourself. Let me say that again. My job is to hold you to a higher standard than you currently hold for yourself. And so because of that, I know that you have spent a boatload of time not feeling good enough, not putting yourself first, not doing the things that you wish you were doing, not living the life that you deserve to be living. You've spent a lot of time, let's say you have wasted a lot of time feeling that way. Okay? And my job is not to enable you and not to coddle you. And I will not do that. If you, and I've said this so many times already, but if you could do it alone, you wouldn't be here listening to this podcast. You wouldn't be a member inside of our Facebook group. You would have done it already. If you could truly do it on your own, if you could learn how to feel good enough, put yourself first, do the things you crave, do the things you know you deserve to be doing, you wouldn't be here right now. And my job will always be to hold you to a higher standard than you can currently hold for yourself. Because I can see what's possible for you. I can see your, like I'm not psychic, but I can see what's possible for you, and I can see the future that you could have. Because I'm not emotionally attached to all of your bullshit that you're telling yourself. And when you're attached to your own bullshit, you can't see what's possible for you. And so I'm able to hold you to a higher standard of that version of yourself that I know that you can become. And when you're not able to do that for yourself, and you sit there and think that you can just figure all this out, I'll just listen to the podcast and piece it all together, and I'll just try to figure out how to do this thing. You won't be able to. Because when you don't have motivation, when you don't feel inspired, when you have a shitty day, when someone makes you mad, do you think you're going to go put yourself first and do the things you need to be doing? To do your thought work, to work on yourself? No, you're going to sit in front of the TV with your cupcakes. And my job is not to enable you. You have people in your life that are enabling you to be the way you are. And I refuse to do that. And by me not enabling you doesn't mean I'm not empathetic, doesn't mean I don't feel for what you're going through, because I do. Because I've been in your shoes. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, it's okay, everything's okay, just keep doing what you're doing. It's okay to sit in front of the couch and shove cupcakes down your throat instead of sitting there and doing the work on your thoughts. It's okay. No, it's not okay. It's okay to have a bad day, but it's not okay to keep doing things that are literally shaving time off of your life, that are making you feel so bad about yourself that you refuse to go out into the world and live. I'm not going to enable that. My job, again, is to hold you to that higher standard than you're able to hold for yourself right now. And it is also my job to show you how to grab the life you deserve, how to gain the confidence you deserve. That is also my job. So my question to you is, what exactly are you waiting for? I talked about this last week. What is your excuse now? What are you waiting for? What is it that you're waiting to happen? Are you waiting for a pot of gold to just fall out of the sky and land at your feet and like, oh, well, there it is? Are you waiting for a sign, an aha moment for the angels to sing, a rock bottom moment? You don't need to wait for those things. You just got to start where you start, and you start now. You don't sit around and wait for some magical lucky moment to just happen for you. You know how you get things? You create what you want. You put the intention out there. And for so many of you, you're thinking, well, all that sounds great, and it's so lucky for other people, but that's not me. Right. You have to create the luck that you're thinking about. And luck is not a thing. We have to create intention. You have to be intentional about what you're choosing. And right now, if you're sitting under your wet blanket, feeling sorry for yourself, well, guess what? You're choosing that. You're choosing your wet blanket over getting uncomfortable for a minute, taking imperfect action, and changing your life. That's what you're choosing. People that are living the life that you wish you could live, that stuff didn't just happen to them. Whether you're sitting under your wet blanket or you're sitting outside by the pool having a margarita, enjoying your life, it's a choice. No one is sitting there telling you, you need to sit here and feel miserable under your wet blanket and call yourself every name in the book and beat yourself up and shove food down your throat till you can't breathe. No one is forcing you to do that. It's when you decide, I may not know what to do, but I'm going to take the first step. I'm going to get intentional about the things that I'm doing because I know I may not fully feel this yet, but I know I deserve better. I know I deserve better. I know I'm capable of better. And you need that accountability and that support because you're not going to be able to do it on your own. Because again, you're going to have those days where you're going to want to run under your wet blanket of misery and hide from the world. And what are you going to do on those days? Who are you going to ask? Who are you going to turn to? Who's going to cheer you on? And I know that the Irresistible You program is not for everyone. And quite frankly, I won't work with everyone. I also want to make sure that whomever wants to enroll and be a part of the program, I want to make sure that you're a good fit also. Because not everybody is going to be a good fit. I personally do not want to work with people who aren't committed to showing up. Because, I've had someone before, apologize to me that they weren't showing up and they weren't doing this. And I'm like, listen, you don't need to apologize to me. You need to apologize to yourself. Right? Because that's what this is all about. This is about showing up for yourself. For finally showing up and putting yourself first and not running and hiding away and using life as your excuse as to why you're not where you want to be. And so I don't want to work with every type of person. I don't want to work with people who aren't committed to that, to showing up for themselves. I don't want to work with people who have excuses for every little thing. Like, you may not know what to say yet or like how to do things, but I'm talking about the people who are the constant negative Nellies. There is always a negative excuse for every single thing. I don't want to work with those people. I want to work with people who are ready to work on themselves. I want to work with people who are ready to show up for themselves. I want to work with people who are willing to be coached. I want to work with people who are open to being coached. Because again, I'm going to hold you to a higher standard than you can hold for yourself. I'm not going to enable you. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm not going to tell you that the way you're thinking about yourself, the shitty things that you're thinking about yourself, I'm not going to tell you that it's okay. So if you want that, I'm not the person you should be working with. If you want someone who's going to call you out when you need to be called out, then yes, we would probably work very well together. Right? So that's just it, guys. Like, you can't do this alone. You just can't. And so if you are ready to make that step, if you are ready, then we need to have a conversation. I would love for you, I think, right now, as this is getting published live, the best thing for you to do is to come to our free masterclass, because you're going to learn a lot about how to break the yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle. You're also going to learn about the Irresistible You program. We're going to be talking about that, and I'm going to be giving away some goodies that you're only going to get if you come to that class. So you don't want to miss it. I want you to ask yourself, if not now, when? What exactly is it that you're waiting for? If you need a sign, well then here's your sign. Here's your sign that it's time to change your life, right? Because how many years do you sit around like, I need to find a sign. I need to have an aha moment. I need to have like a rock bottom. So you treat yourself like more shit so that you can hit your rock bottom. Can you please think about that for a minute? How asinine is that? I mean, come on. Anyway, I would love to work with you. I would love to have you in the program if you're that type of person who's ready to show up for yourself, who's ready to be open-minded, who is ready to be committed to taking imperfect action. Then head on over. Let's join tonight, or not tonight, but let's join this week at the masterclass. Let's talk about it. I'm going to be sharing all kinds of things with you, and I hope to see you there. Thank you guys for listening. As always, please head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review. That would be amazing. It means the world to me. It's how we allow other people to find this podcast. The more reviews that iTunes gets, the more it puts Irresistible You back into the search results so that other people can find this community. All right, guys, I will see you soon. I will see you inside of the free Facebook group. Until next time, stay irresistible.